Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to my messy garage. In today's video, we're going to continue working on the Harbor Freight style blasting cabinet. I believe this is episode 9. We're going to be setting up a dust deflector on the inside of the cabinet to keep the blasting media from getting sucked out into the dust collection system that we have over here. Here on the inside of the cabinet, we have a wide open hole that will easily suck up media as it's being sprayed onto whatever we're trying to blast. If we build a cover that goes down over top of that so that it's pulling air from down much lower, down there, then we'll be able to prevent the cabinet from pulling all the media out and putting it in the bucket instead of recycling it and putting it back in the gun. It's the old story that a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is a piece of aluminum I want to make the piece out of. You can kind of see my crude marker drawing here. We're going to build a box that goes over the port so that the air gets sucked in from the bottom. And this is kind of the profile that I want to do. Now what we've got here is a central machine 3-in-1. It's actually, in my mind, 4-in-1. Metalworking tool. It is a shear, it is a press brake, that's also a box and pan brake, and it has a roller in the top that is capable of doing both sheet stock here and doing 3 different sizes of round stock, which is essentially a ring roller. What we're interested in is the shear in the bottom and the press brake. So I need to make some measurements and decide what I want to use for dimensions to go on here. The idea here is to make a 3-sided box. Let's see if you guys can see this without light glaring off of it. We want sides, which will be those, and then we want a top. So we'll actually have to use the box portion of the brake. Hopefully we can make that work. So here's kind of what I want to accomplish. 10 millimeter flange should be good enough at the bottom. 20 millimeters in height, which is give or take an inch. 100 millimeters across, which is I think right around 3.5 inches. And 300 millimeters in height, which is give or take 12 inches. Let me start laying out that on this wonderful piece of aluminum, and I'll bring it back when I'm ready to bend. Admittedly, this piece of aluminum was just a scrap that I was using when I was setting up the shear on the metalworking equipment. Doesn't necessarily have a any square corners. It was just kind of an approximation I was using while I was setting the gap on the shear. So we'll use a square and start a baseline to do all of our measurements from. And while it does look pretty close, there is a slight angle to that edge. Okay, so here's a little ruler. We'll use that for the layout. This doesn't have to be perfect. We'll come over, I'll make it 15. That gives us a nice flange to attach. We're going to come over another 20. Then we're going to come over the 100. Another 20, and 15. So we're going to be cutting along this line here. This is a bend in one direction, this is a bend in the other direction, another bend, and a cut line. We want 300 millimeters, then we want our height of 20, that'll be a bend line, and then we want another 15 for a flange across the top. And once I get this edge trued up to the bottom, I'll mark those across with the square. So the first thing we need to do is true up this line. And while I've owned this piece of equipment for, I hate to say it, close to a year, I've just recently got it all dialed in and functional, so it may not be 100%. What we're going to do is we're going to line up the line at either end of that sheet with the edge. We're going to take our spring-loaded clamp, put it in place, and we grab this handle down at the end and we pull. And hopefully this will cut. Well, it certainly did cut. And it looks like we got a good clean edge. There we are, we got the rest of the lines put on that. And there's our width. A little bit of a burr on there, not too bad. We'll make that work. Next we have the top that we need to trim off. Okay, that's our blank. Let me carry these lines up to the top just to make it easier to line things up. So here we are, we've got our lines extended. Now these inner lines aren't going to be any good because they need to be on the opposite side. So I transferred them over. So let's give this a try. Hold this in here. Bring it up to the point where it starts to grab. Then we need to make sure we've got it straight. That looks good. And we can dial that in a little bit when we're done. Okay, let's go the other way. Again, a little bit over pressing on this end, but we can make that work. So there's our profile, and we need to repeat that on this side. So it'll need a little tweaking. We're a little overbent here, we're a little underbent here. Not a big deal, we can make those adjustments. But now we need to put a top on it. And that's going to take a little bit more tweaking and adjusting here. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but you can see each one of these is a different width finger. And they're all held up in place with this clamp across here. So what we need to do is find one that is going to be close. This one is too big and this one is too small. But if we take this one and the smallest one over here and use them, that should be just about the perfect width to put this identical bend in the top that we have in the sides. Let me see if I can get this to set up and we'll give that a go. Trim the L angles out of here. Drill a little relief hole in the corner so that we don't end up with a stress crack when we bend it. And I transfer the mark to the inside as well. So this should, ooh, it's tight, but it should work. So first bend, let's there's our flange. Now we do our bend on the inside. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap there, but I'll just make a little cap that goes over that and put it on with a couple of rivets that'll hold everything nicely closed, and the rest of this can get mounted to the cabinet. Here we have the piece essentially roughed out. Should work well to block off any air. We'll have to put a little bit of sealant in the corners, and I made up these nice little L angles that we can attach to either one of the top corners. First thing we need to do though is we need to clean up some of the sharp edges. I kind of have a OCD obsession with getting rid of burrs off of aluminum. So let me do a little time lapse and I'll bring you back when that's done. There is our nice ducting. Nice and flat along this surface. should work quite nicely. Again, we'll have to put a little bit of glue in the corners there to make sure that it doesn't have any issues soaking up or suck the sand in. My plan is to put this on the inside of the cabinet and then back drill through the holes that I've put in it into the side of the cabinet. And then we will attach this essentially the same way we built the corners, using rivets. Okay, so that is pretty much where we want to be. We put a cleco in from the outside. I don't know, does that look straight to you guys? Close enough to me. So basically that's got it all in there. All of the air that is going to go out of the exhaust system has to come through this bottom here, and hopefully that will not include much of the sand. Now we need to drill out the remaining holes that have not been pilot drilled. Again, we get into the question of where do we want the heads of the rivets. Ideally we would want the smallest surface on the inside, but the BBs, yeah, I'd much rather have them on the inside than on the outside. That probably is just a preference coming from building airplanes, but that's what we'll try and accomplish. There we go. That fits much better. So there we are. We are all riveted in. Let me bring you guys around to the other side so you can see. So there's our piece all installed, relatively airtight. It'll be pulling the air up from the bottom now and then out into the dust collection system. Now one item that I have seen mentioned is capping off up here. In behind this shield there's a port that allows air to come in, so to balance the air between here and the inside and what's being sucked out. However, I'm not terribly concerned about the little bit of air leakage that could possibly be coming out of the top here. I think it's going to come out over and up. Hopefully it will bring most of the air. If I was going to cap something off on this duct here, I would probably cap off the bottom so that it pulls the air in at the top, across where we're blasting, and out the bottom of the duct that we just made. Anyways, we'll try it the way it is and we'll see where we get to. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. For more great content from Doug's Messy Garage, click on one of the videos that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching.